We begin this episode with Gene Khan, aka the Mandarin, blackmails Howard Stark into helping him as the foremost expert in Makluan technology. He drags him to one of the Makluan temples, hoping that Howard's knowledge of riddles will help him unlock the temple's secrets. Howard claims they could have just teleported them there, but Gene worries that Dr. Doom's technology would have picked up any large amounts of Makluan energy in the area. He claims they must be careful, especially since they are in Doom's domain. After trekking the snowy mountains, they finally arrive at the 9th Makluan temple. Before they explore it, Gene transforms into the Mandarin, prepared for anything the temple will dish out. He then asks Howard about the temple guardian, which he claims is called the Grey Gargoyle. Howard explains that he will quickly turn to stone should the temple guardian touch him. Cautious, Gene asks Howard to go first, to which he doesn't even hesitate. Venturing deeper, Gene is furious when he discovers the temple has already been ransacked and the ring missing. With the temple guardian defeated and in pieces, Howard suspects that Doom must have already found the 9th Makluan ring and obtained the power of the gods. Out of nowhere, a voice from the shadows echoes through the hall, revealing Dr. Doom, who declares to know everything. Doom channels the ring's power just then, and a bright light covers the room. Pepper Potts flies out to space on rescue after receiving orders from Tony Stark to fix a satellite. Tony explains that the satellite helps detect Makluan energy, so if Mandarin uses the rings in a big way, they could track him down. He then quickly reprograms the satellite, but explains that it will take 9 hours to complete. Meanwhile, Pepper returns to Earth thrilled with flying in the armored suit that Tony provided her. She even almost causes an accident when she nearly crashes into a building, having briefly lost control of her suit. She claims to have gotten used to piloting it, but Tony insists she should remotely control it. Overly confident in her skills, she briefly loses control again and crashes into a billboard. Despite the brief mishap, Pepper insists on looking at the bright side that she no longer crashes into buildings. Suddenly, a helicopter crashes into Pepper, but War Machine arrives and catches it before it completely loses control. Rhodey claims he kept watching over her in case she needed his help. Tony asks them to return, but Rhodey wants to stay behind so he can get used to the new software Tony installed on War Machine. Suddenly the skies turn red, and meteors fall from the sky. Tony suspects it must be some kind of natural phenomenon, which Pepper claims looks more like a doomsday. He insists that everything has a logical explanation, even if it's completely weird, and later discovers that it is of Makluan origin. Suddenly, a bright light appears behind Tony and Pepper, which Mandarin emerges from nowhere. Surprisingly, he falls to the ground unconscious, which undid his transformation. Later, Gene wakes up but is mad that the rings were taken away, to which Tony then asks him how he managed to find their hideout. When he tried to stand up, he was suddenly taken aback by the pain, clearly not yet recovered from his injuries. Pepper claims he needs to rest, but when he insists on getting his rings back, Tony tells him he will never return them to him. Gene then threatens Tony that he will never see his father again if he doesn't get them. Tony refuses to believe him, but Gene shows him a video of his father proving that he is still alive and well. When Tony tries to attack him, Pepper stops and calms him down. In return, Pepper goes ballistic on Gene on Tony's behalf, and Gene explains that he needed Howard's expertise and couldn't go at it alone. Tony claims he was never alone and had them before he betrayed them. Gene later reveals that Doom captured him and his father, who then took them back to his castle in Latveria. He then explains he needs the rings to save his father, but Tony claims Gene never cared for him. Gene claims he can teleport them, but Tony insists he can save his father on his own. Gene explains that even he struggled to defeat Doom with all 8 rings, and claims that Tony wouldn't stand a chance against him by himself. Pepper suggests getting Jean to help him, but Tony claims they can't trust him. After Iron Man and Mandarin leave, Pepper goes out on rescue to assist War Machine with the meteor shower headed for the city. She claims she was just returning the favor for earlier. When they thought it had finally stopped, the portal above the city became bigger, and glowing orbs quickly emerged, which they thought were ominous. Rhodey suspects these orbs are other dimensional creatures, but when he recklessly approaches them, believing them to be harmless, they quickly attack him. He tried attacking it, but his attacks were ineffective, and he intended to retaliate. Although Pepper is getting better at piloting rescue, War Machine is suddenly surrounded by other dimensional creatures that attack him in all directions. Rescue gets zapped from behind when she tries to help, briefly losing control of her suit. The other dimensional creatures have them outnumbered, forcing Rescue and War Machine on their knees, unable to resist them. Although initially hesitant, Tony only returns the teleportation ring to Jean, which he used to arrive at Doom's castle. Jean explains that he could only send them as far as the castle's entrance, claiming that Doom's technology scrambles his teleportation. When they thought they had sneaked inside, they quickly found themselves trapped in a collapsing hall with spiked walls. Iron Man asks Mandarin to teleport them out, but his powers don't work. He suspects it must be Doom's scrambler and urges Iron Man to return his other rings so he can increase his power and teleport them to safety. Iron Man refuses and tries to stop the walls with his strength, but even with their combined strength, they cannot stop it. Mandarin asks him for his rings again, but Iron Man attacks the walls instead, hoping they will break down. He suggests they break for it, to which Mandarin breaks it down, and Iron Man barely escapes with his life. After clearing the trapped rooms, Iron Man and Mandarin walk up to Dr. Doom in the throne room. Doom claims that Mandarin returning and bringing Iron Man must have been the will of the cosmos. Iron Man demanded that he return Howard Stark, but Doom is curious why he would risk his life for him. He later realizes that Doom is in possession of the 9th Makluan ring and suspects that must be why Mandarin asked for his help against him. Doom gets furious when Iron Man demands, claiming that this is his domain and that his word is the law. He demanded that they surrender the rings instead and that he grant them swift deaths in exchange. Being forced on their knees, Mandarin asks Iron Man for his rings again, claiming they do not stand a chance against Doom without it, but he refuses. Iron Man fights back and attacks Doom, but he easily blocks it with his barrier. Doom retaliates and forces them on their knees, attacking them with forked lightning. He then throws them against the wall and demands that Iron Man surrender Mandarin's rings, threatening to tear him apart if he doesn't. As they stand no chance, Mandarin asks him to give him just one more ring so they can fend off Doom, to which Iron Man hesitatingly complies. Together, they broke through Doom's barrier, to which Iron Man knocks him against the wall with a unibeam attack. When they think they are victorious against Doom, Iron Man realizes they are only fighting against a fake. Mandarin claims that Doom is still there with the real ring and suggests looking for him. He wants to return to where they came from, but Iron Man discovers a hidden wall where he detects some kind of technology behind it. Mandarin tried pushing the wall, but Iron Man found the lever that opened it. As they ventured deeper, Iron Man quickly found his father hovering in the air, trapped in some kind of containment force field. Howard was signaling they were walking into a trap when a bright light suddenly attacked them. Doom then throws them inside the force field with Howard, describing them as flies caught in a spider web while barely lifting a finger. Iron Man demands that he free them and even bargains to let Doom keep Mandarin. Doom claims that Mandarin is an aberrant and that only he can wield the rings of power. He explains that Doom did manage to tap into the 9th ring and discover the Dark Force's powers inside it. He declares it can do many things, even creating portals or windows into other worlds. Iron Man confirms his suspicions that Doom was responsible for the unnatural phenomena outside after he messed around with wormholes. Suddenly, Doom opens a portal, summons Yog-Thulu, a giant demonic centipede, and completes his deal with it. In exchange for the souls of his family, Doom offers him 3 pure souls using Iron Man, Mandarin, and Howard Stark as his bargaining chips. Doom later laughs maniacally as he sends them over through the portal as he promised to Yog-Thulu. Later, Iron Man and the others find themselves in an alternate dimension, which Mandarin suspects must be one of the 7 evil realms. Iron Man claims that they are in an alien dimension, and Doom must have used his technology to teleport them there. He claims that there's nothing magical about it and insists that there must be a logical way in and a way out, to which Howard agrees. Iron Man explains that he was once trapped in a similar dimension and claims that the only hope they have of escaping is finding a wormhole back to their world. When they are about to leave, Yog-Thulu stops them and claims that they are now in his dimension and that there is no escaping. Iron Man attacks it when Yog-Thulu later realizes that Doom has tricked him, having discovered that Mandarin is not a pure soul. When Yog-Thulu left to confront Doom, Mandarin turned to Iron Man and asked for the rest of his rings, claiming he would have enough power to teleport them back. Iron Man refuses his request, worried that Mandarin would quickly turn his back and leave them behind. Yog-Thulu talks to Doom and is furious for being given an impure soul, but Doom demands that it fulfill its promise to return his family, or he will destroy his dimension altogether. Yog-Thulu claims that the deal is forfeited and quickly disappears, much to Doom's frustration. Given their situation, Mandarin refuses to give up and insists that Iron Man return his rings, to which Howard agrees. Howard explains that this was their only choice, and assures him that Jean would remain true to his word. Mandarin explains that he would not leave them behind as he needed Iron Man's help retrieving the 9th ring from Doom. Although hesitant, Iron Man returns all the rings to Mandarin, following his father's advice, to which he then quickly uses his powers to teleport them back to Doom's castle. As soon as they return, Iron Man asks Howard Stark to hide while he and Mandarin deal with Doom, who is surprised that he had the rings after all. Iron Man explains that he hid them in super pockets that not even Doom's technology could detect. Regardless, Doom claims that the Dark Force not only opens worlds of evil, but could also unleash pure evil as well. He declares he will take the rest of the rings now, but Iron Man refuses. Iron Man immediately attacks Doom, but his missiles can't reach him even when Mandarin ambushes him from behind. Doom claims that Mandarin doesn't stand a chance against him as he possesses the most powerful of the rings. While he blows away Iron Man and Mandarin, Howard catches Doom by surprise, who gets hit by a jolt of electricity from his Tesla coils. With Doom knocked down, Mandarin uses this chance to steal his ring and escapes with it. With it, they use the ring's power to trap Doom and send him over through the portal, where Yog-Thulu swallows and retreats to his dimension. Iron Man felt bad for what happened to Doom, claiming he had not planned to send him to Yog-Thulu's dimension. Mandarin is thrilled to be closer to his goals with only 1 ring left to retrieve. Meanwhile, with Doom defeated and Yog-Thulu returning to its dimension, the other dimensional creatures also return to where they came from. Rhodey suspects Tony must have defeated Doom, so the portal closes, and the sky clears up. Mandarin explains that he closed every portal Doom opened when he tapped into the power of the Dark Force. Before he disappears, Mandarin asks Iron Man if he still thinks of him as a monster after fixing the problem that Doom caused. Iron Man turns his attention to his father and takes him back to safety. Having just returned, Howard reunites with his son, Tony, who cannot believe he is back. Howard claims that he did not expect to survive the ordeal while claiming to have seen things he couldn't even imagine. He looks at Tony and claims that he and Rhodey have grown. Tony wonders why his father isn't frustrated at being kidnapped, even though he can only think of taking revenge on Jean. Howard explains that he is just glad to be back. Later, he walks with Tony with his arms around him, claiming that they will focus on celebrating his return today and plan on getting Stark International back tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.